Hey YouTube, Shuken Shinobi here with the review of the Danball Senki Wars LBX Dot-Phasor. This is the main LBX as of right now for Arata, the main character of Wars. Wars is the third in the Danball Senki series. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, Google Danball Senki Wiki and start reading up because it is a fantastic series. Wars is, like I said, the third in the series and a completely independent story from the first two seasons, which were connected. But it carries the same line of little tiny robots that beat the crap out of each other and do various things. So regardless, very, very cool. So here is the box of Dot-Phasor with very cool artwork. We've got the Gimmick logo, Team Gimmick frame. It's a Brawler frame, and it's got a multi-Gimmick Sack as its armaments. Yep. So we are going to move this out of the way and bring in Dot-Phasor. So now he's got a really weird name, Dot-Phasor. Not sure why exactly they went with that name, but that's what they did. Now these are plastic model kits. For those of you that don't know, Danball Senki is all about plastic model kits. And it's a fairly easy build. It's not for experienced model builders or anything like that, though they're more than welcome to pick them up. It is very easy for kids to do. I mean, not super young kids. Like, they're harder than a Pokeplot kit, but they're not as difficult as most Gundam kits. So they're kind of a nice little in-between. And they make a nice little figure. I love how these end up turning out. They're all usually fairly solid. At least all of the Wars kits that I've picked up so far are very solid. So no horribly flimsy joints. The construction on these are, for the most part, all brand new compared to the other ones in terms of how you build the kind of the skeleton of the system. Now, unlike the hyper functions, which I took a look at before, there is no skeleton underneath here. There's just a base body that you can connect things to, which is right in here. So you can't like pull off the armor and attach different armors. Now you can pull off the individual limbs. They're just on little ball and socket joints using the little grips in there. Now you can pull those off and mix and match limbs, which was basically what most of the video games for Danball were about. So you can do that, so that is an option as well. But let's take a look at Dot-Phasor's design. He's got basically a brawler frame, which is kind of usually knights. A lot of the main characters for Danball use brawler frames. And so it's got this knightish kind of quality to it while still retaining a militaristic feel to it with the missile pods on his shoulders, the shields on there. He's got a bunch of wheels all over the place, even though he doesn't really use them. They're just kind of a decorative sort of thing. It's still really cool. You've got some logos over here. The Gimmick logo over on this shield. Those are part of his arms. They do not disconnect, but there is a giant shield on his back that he does use. But like I said, a nice solid little figure. You can get a ton of posability on these. Full rotation on the shoulders. On the head, it's a ball and socket joint. Same with the legs. The legs are a little bit of a tight joint, but that isn't an issue at all. So full mobility on the legs. You've got a single joint right there. And then you've got all sorts of little ankle movements down here. Part of his multi-gimmick sack just fell off, and I'm just going to pop that off just so we can get a little better movement here. So, like, as you can see, lots of articulation on these guys, despite the fact that they're just a plastic model kit. So, very cool. And these are cheap. Danball Senki model kits only cost about $8 a piece. Thanks, dog. So, really, it's not that expensive to collect either. It is very easy to collect these. None of the releases are all that much. I think the highest one was like $1,500, and that was, I think, Olegion, because he was huge. But very easy line to collect. Now, like we said, he does have a multi-gimmick sack, which was this backpack thing. Let me reattach the sword piece that goes right here. Now, he does have these little blades on the sword that move, and they don't really lock in place all that well. So they're kind of gimmicky there. But here's his little backpack. He's got a gun right here, a sword right here, and a shield. The shield's the easiest one to demonstrate. All you do is pop this off. Attach that right there. And then watch as I mindlessly sit here for quite a while trying to remember how to properly fit that one on. Just like that. There we go. So now he's got his shield, which can kind of double as a big knuckle, because it kind of looks like a fist right here. So I think that's kind of a nice little double take on that. So you've got the shield on that hand, and then you have these little individual weapon pieces that can form to make a gun. Or a sword. Or anything else. So the sword by itself is right here. Can pop that off. This piece pops off, and you can replace it with this longer one. So there you got like a sword weapon. This piece down here is the gun. This piece pops off. So then you got a gun weapon there, so you can dual wield sword and gun if you want to and ignore the shield. Then if you didn't want the longer one, there's also a handle for the smaller grip. So then you got a smaller gun. So there's multiple things that you can do with these. And I think that's probably one of the most fun things about Dot-Phasor in particular, because he's got a set of weapons that can make so many different forms. Now, if you take this piece, the sword, kind of push in the blade a little bit, switch the gun back to that elongated rifle kind of end that I had before, and slide that in. Now you have a kind of a longer rifle weapon, so that is an option for you to do as well. And then, if we switch things around a bit, pop this off, take the one that we had before when it was in storage mode, pop this on, and make kind of a little club end to it, and attach it again. Flip it around, and now you have basically a giant club weapon that you can use. So that is an option as well. Now, the big giant combo weapon here basically consists of taking this, let's split it apart again, pull this piece out and replace it with this piece, which makes the gun portion a handle. Pop this out, switch that around, plug that in just like this, extend these blades, and then take this green piece that is included, and this will slide right over that barrel portion right there, and now you have a big honkin' sword. And that is fantastic. I love the way that this ends up looking. Combo that with the shield, and you can get some pretty interesting poses with this. Not going to go too wild or crazy because I want to wrap this up, but still really neat. Dot-Phasor is a great little kit. Like I said, he's only about $8 off of AmiAmi, about $10 if you buy him anywhere else. So he isn't that bad, and he's actually very, very cool. Like I said, they're not hard to build at all. They're incredibly easy kits. I would say that most, probably 10 and up, should be able to do this no problem. So very easy kits to build. The old kits always came with these little dice things, which I never really used for anything. They were a nice little addition, but I never really used them for anything. And they seem to have foregone the dice game portion of these kits in favor of adding more weapons, and I think that is great, particularly with Dot-Phasor when you have the multi-gimmick sack, or whatever they want to call it. When you have it back here, and it's easy storage for all the weapons, and then you have these various other pieces that you can use to change the weapons, change them into different guns, different swords, combine them into gun swords, and then combine them into this big honkin' sword too. So I really like that. I like the fact that they kind of foregone the dice and decided to give us more weapons, and adds a lot more playability and posing options to these. And I think that's great. Now this is the model, everything I showed was the model before paint. This is all straight out of the box, stickers applied, no paint whatsoever. There are a couple paint details missing, particularly in his head area. There's a couple body portions that should be painted as well. But straight out of the box, it isn't that displeasing to the eye. The only one that really gets me is the fact that these little red pieces aren't colored in. That's the only one that I always notice right off the top by looking at it. So, straight out of the box, they're actually still very detailed and very worthwhile kits. None of the stickers I have on Dot-Phasor are peeling or coming close to peeling, and that's the truth for all of the Wars kits here. So, very, very cool. Definitely worth the $8. It's very cheap, and you get such a great product out of it that I can't help but recommend the Danball Senki LBX kits. Just really fantastic. So we'll take a look at the rest of the line later on through the weeks. And great start to the Wars line. Very, very good start. So you can check out shukenshinobi.com for the latest updates on my reviews and hauls. And of course, check out Riders, Rangers, and Rambles, the podcast being the latest token news in the craziest way possible. And of course, you can check out Riders, Rangers, and Rambles, the podcast being the latest token news in the craziest way possible. So take care and have a great one. Bye.